Texas. To outsiders, we are just cowboys and horses, but we all know that Texas has the biggest, most beautiful cities in the world, from the state capital of Austin to the busy highways in the large city of Houston. Or maybe you might be in the history-enriched city of San Antonio. Possibly you're in the greatest one of them all, Dallas, Texas. Point is that no matter which corner of this great state you are in, you're covered under the sombrero of coverage with a true Texan. Northwest Insurance Agency. Call us today for sombrero-style coverage from the best in Texas.
This is the On the Pony Express podcast, part of the On3 network. Check out all the SMU coverage you need at ontheponyexpress.com. Now, here's your host, Billy Embody.
1, 2, 3, let me go.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the On the Pony Express podcast presented by our friends at Northwest Insurance Agency. I am Billy Embody, really excited about this show today because we've got a couple of newsy things to talk about, and we also have an outstanding interview with SMU Athletic Director Damon Evans. If you want the full interview, we'll have more at ontheponyexpress.com, so subscribe for just $1 for your first month today and get that story. Talked a little bit with him off camera about some items as well. Happy to bring that to you guys. But we have some things to talk about. It is the dog days of summer, but we got a little taste of football season with a trio of SMU football game times and TV channels being announced. Plus, SMU basketball got a big decision in from one of its top transfers who was in the NBA draft. He did withdraw. So we'll talk about all of that and more. But before we get into our interview with Damon Evans, I do want to talk about the SMU football schedule, first 3 games getting kicked off. But before that, want to remind you guys about our friends at the Thomas Auto Group. Guys, unfortunately, my 200,000-mile Jeep Wrangler is no more, and it finally was time to get a family-friendly, safe vehicle. And the new dealership with the Brandon Thomas, the Thomas Auto Group family hooked me up. Brandon Thomas Mitsubishi right there on 75 in McKinney, just south of Bob Thomas Ford, part of the whole Thomas Auto Group family. They did a great job helping me out. I got my hat here, rocking the Brandon Thomas Mitsubishi hat, and very excited about our new Yukon. That'll be very safe for Jack, very safe for the whole family. And they walked me through the whole process and, had great background on why the vehicle was sold to them. Had low mileage, which I appreciated. And of course, the buying process was super easy. And the Thomas Auto Group hooked it up, as they will hook you up with employee pricing on new and pre-owned vehicles. When you go up there, whether it be their Ford, Subaru, Volkswagen, and now their brand new Mitsubishi dealership, you can find a vehicle for you. I watched their website for about a couple weeks, and this one vehicle from the start popped out. I let them know, kind of did some other looking and did some research, and it was time to get this in time for summer and things like that. So really excited to, of course, be partnered with the Thomas Auto Group. All right. Aside from that, we'll be pulling up to the Boulevard August 30th for SMU's first game of the 2025 season in that car. That'll be 8 o'clock Central Time against East Texas A&M. The Mustangs do take on that program to kick off the season. And look, there's really not much else to be said other than they will be on the ACC network. So the ACC network crew, the huddle, they'll be in Dallas. Exciting time for the program to get them back in Dallas. And of course, a channel that SMU spent plenty of time on in the 2024 season. So maybe rub a little good luck on the huddle team as they roll into Dallas for that season opener for SMU. It should be a great time. 8 o'clock Central Time. Sorry for those of you on the East Coast that'll be watching that one until midnight and beyond. If you're watching the After Stang show, of course, do want to mention them as well. We got moshield.com. Look, that'll be a late night, but it's a great time to kick off the season on the Boulevard and all those things with East Texas A&M. Should be a game where plenty of Mustangs should get into. The next week, SMU does host Baylor, and get your sunscreen ready. You don't need to bring the water this time for Ford Stadium at this 11 a.m. former Southwest Conference rivalry game. And that one will be broadcast on the CW on September 6th. We're starting the planning process, got a big weekend planned for us as well with the Epic team. So be on the lookout for more details on that. This is the first of 2 games that are scheduled between SMU and Baylor. Of course, SMU will head to Waco in 2026. This is, man, a huge game for SMU. The TCU game time, is still one that we're waiting on. We'll learn that one in the season from what it seems like. So you won't be able to plan as early as you'd like to for that one. But if I'm guessing, it's probably going to be 11 a.m. on FS1 or whatever network is broadcasting the Big 12 these days. But that Baylor game is going to be a lot of fun. 11 a.m. I'll take it over 2:30. I will take it over 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, whatever. But this is a game that Rhett Lashley and his staff, when you recruit a lot against Baylor like SMU has, this is one of your rare moments where you can, maybe I would say, finish the job, like sweep the leg, as far as getting that statement across that, look, there's Texas A&M. They're going to win some battles, and they're going to have some things going in their program's direction that are always going to be there. But for SMU, they need to continue to beat up on TCU. They need to continue to do the things that have put them in position to be probably a favorite going into that game against Baylor. And then they've got to go out and beat Baylor. Yeah, that's a big statement game for SMU. You can look at SMU TCU, the last Iron Skillet, all of those things. It's a bragging rights game in the finality of it. But the Baylor game is something that is very much more so in the here and now. And even if you look at 26, and even last year outside of Ty Hawkins and Tyron Polley and maybe one other, there really wasn't many SMU TCU recruiting battles. It's been a lot more of SMU Baylor. So when you're talking about recruiting against the Bears and kind of trying to own the state of Texas as best you can, SMU needs to win this one. Again, 11 a.m. Central on the CW. So, of course, Baylor fans already upset about that one. It's going to be hot. It's going to be hot for both sides. It'll be the new grass turf for SMU as well, which will be nice. But, yeah, that one will be heated up pretty quickly, both on and off the field, I feel like. And then, finally, SMU does head to Missouri State for that September 13th matchup against the Bears again. They will face them at 2:30 p.m. Central at CBS Sportsnet. I don't know anything about Missouri State. So, look, if you're making the trip to Springfield, Missouri, I mean, enjoy it, I guess. We're working on our travel plans to see if we'll be in attendance for that one, or maybe Dean goes or something like that. But, yeah, Springfield, Missouri, September 13th, 2:30 p.m. Central on CBS Sports Network. So, also, if you want to really look ahead, ACC Championship game, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central on ABC Saturday, December 6th in Charlotte. So the rest of the games will usually be on that 12-day announcement. So it's always that Monday after, or Monday of the week before the game. So 12 days, whatever, you can count it out. So that'll be kind of the rest of the games from what it sounds like. So stay tuned for more information on those. But look, without any further ado, I do want to get to our interview with SMU Athletic Director Damon Evans. But before we do want to remind you guys about our friends at StatusJet, statusjet.com. We appreciate everything they do for us on the Pony Express podcast. Was talking with one of our subscribers yesterday, and plans are being made, moves are being made. I want this invite to the bachelor party, but you know what? I don't know when it is. I don't know where they're going, so I don't want to agree to something without more details. But one of our subscribers got the quote for the bachelor party, great customer service, and, quote, already recommended to a few buddies. Tell your guy they do a much better job than anyone I've dealt with. So StatusJet, again, you get the discount on a round-trip flight when you mention on the Pony Express. So reach out to them today. Plan whatever trip. It could be the opposite end of the spectrum, from bachelor party to ferrying 3 families and 3 close families of 16 kids or whatever around the country or the globe. StatusJet can help you plan out your summer vacation. So make sure you reach out to him today. Without any further ado, I'm really excited for us to be joined by SMU Athletic Director Damon Evans. The On the Pony Express podcast is presented by Mignon. Mignon, right there in Plano, just south of the HEB. They've been there for decades, producing unbelievable food. And they also have a great brunch on Sundays only. It starts at 10:30. But whether you do dinner with them 7 days a week or that brunch, make sure you book through the Open Table app. Reservations go quick at this place because it is just the perfect vibe with that patio right there on the waterfront, or just their dining room, cozy, romantic. You can get a great work dinner in too if you need it. The bar is perfect. They've got the champagne on ice. All of those things that you'd expect from a fine dining experience, Mignon has it. So make sure you head over there. It's worth the drive from wherever you are in DFW to visit Mignon. They've been there for decades in Plano, and they are SMU owned, as Nick DeTore and his family have run it now for many, many years, creating great food and great ambiance at Mignon in Plano. Now, very happy to be joined by SMU's still new athletic director, Damon Evans. Damon, thanks for joining the On the Pony Express podcast. Really excited about this. Hopefully for you, it helps break up the summer a little bit. Now that ACC Spring Meetings are done, you get a little break in the middle of your day and you get to talk to me. So you maybe get some comedic relief.
I'm looking forward to it, my friend. It's always good to see you and be with you and to get a little bit of break and have some fun just shooting the breeze about college athletics and everything going on, and more specifically about the great things happening at SMU.
I was going to ask you, you've been on the job a little bit now. What is your day-to-day life like? Has it settled down in a sense that you now have a routine? And what has life on the hilltop been like so far?
First, life on the hilltop has been great. Every day gets better and better for me. I've really enjoyed the opportunity thus far, and it's been busy. It's like drinking from a fire hose, but I welcome that. My days are jam-packed, my friend. I have meetings usually starting around 8:30 in the morning all the way up until 5:30, sometimes lower into the evening, trying to get to know people, trying to get to know our donors, our fans, our alums, but also meeting with staff. This morning, I started the day meeting with 2 wonderful donors of ours, which was just really good feeling, way to start the day. And then coming here in the office and jumped on a Zoom, then jumped into another meeting. So a lot of meetings, but all good, and looking forward to the fall getting here and starting the season.
And you, outside of your office right now, you're looking at the fresh new grass going down on Ford Stadium. It's looking like it's coming together very nicely. What else, facility wise is going on? Is that the only major project you have to kind of at least have, one hand on or one finger on right now?
Well, we've got great facilities here. I've been extremely impressed by the facilities. The turf project that you mentioned, I'm one that's a big believer in that. Football should be played on grass, and I'm excited, and Rhett feels the same way, and it's great looking right outside my office and seeing the grass go in. Things are looking really good out there. They're working hard at it, and I know it will be ready in time for the season, and so I'm excited about that. But you know what? It's interesting, Billy. I went around to our tennis facility and swimming facilities the other day, and I was absolutely blown away. Those have to be 2 of the most impressive facilities in all of college swimming and diving, as well as tennis. But then you take a look at, I love Ford Stadium, the size, the Weber End Zone complex is just spectacular. And then looking at our soccer track stadium over at Moody and Crum, and the list goes on and on. Very, very impressive. So I'm excited to be a part of such a great tradition, but an institution that's really invested in its programs.
You mentioned Ford and the Weber End Zone complex. I know there's some folks that heavily invested in that would like to see some of the other parts of the stadium touched. Is that something that you guys have started at least looking at and seeing what some of the options are now that you're in charge, now that the some of the great series that SMU football has ahead of it are on the table and things like that?
I really want to make sure that when we have our fans out to our events, that we create an environment and experience that they want to come back to, one that they enjoy. And so there's a lot to learn here over my initial year here. But I want to make sure that when you take a look at the Weber End Zone complex and the amenities that are offered there, from the seating components that we have there, the suites, the club, the loges, and all that, as well as the other suites and clubs that we have, I want them to be first class. And this is a stadium and an environment in which we have a lot of people who like premium type seating. So when you ask me, do I have plans? Am I exploring other options for the future? Absolutely. I think we got to make sure that we keep our finger on the pulse of what our fans want, what the expectations are, and that we meet those needs and those demands. And that's what we plan on doing.
And, I mentioned the series that, was announced before we started recording, the LSU series. That's one that's coming to Dallas. You've got Oklahoma expected to make a return trip, I believe, and a couple of others out there. What's your take on scheduling in the non-conference and kind of this world that is, involved into a 8 or 9 game league schedule debate as well? I mean, it's a little bit of a volley back and forth. I mean, I appreciate it during the summer, I guess, but what's your take on all of that?
Well, first regarding LSU, I'm excited about the opportunity to play LSU. I think it will be great for our fans, our student athletes. SMU is a football program that should be playing the likes of an LSU. Well, we shouldn't back down from anyone, and I think this is going to be a great game when you take an ACC team against an SEC team that has a lot of rich history and tradition. It's going to make for a fantastic opportunity for all concerned. I like those type of games. When you talk about non-conference scheduling, I prefer to play only one of those types of games a year. You got 4 non-conference games. Let's play a Power 4, and then let's get 3 games in here that are good games. But you don't want to over-schedule yourself outside of conference, because you want to make sure that you go into conference with a good schedule, that you're ready to play. Hopefully you're going into conference undefeated. That's what we would like to be. And then you get into conference and you fight your way through that. But I like games like LSU. I like scheduling big-time opponents. I think that is significant as we continue to grow our brand and establish ourselves on a national level.
When you look at the TCU game ending after this year, I did want to ask: is there any change now that you've taken over, and there's been some changes over in Fort Worth about anything going on over there? Because basketball, I saw a rumor on Twitter that basketball might be getting something going, but I don't know if that's the case.
It's interesting. I wasn't here at the time, but I don't think we were the ones that canceled the game with TCU. I think there was someone else that made that decision. So I want to make it clear that we never ran away from TCU. So what will we do in the future? I'm gonna stay mum on that right now. Like I said, we'll see what unfolds and what happens. I never say no to anything, because at the end of the day, I want to do what's best for our program, and I want to do what's best for our fans, and make sure I know those rivalries are significantly important. I look forward to our game against them this year, and hopefully we'll do the same thing we did to them last time.
When you start talking about some of these non-conference games and colleges trying to weigh the strength of schedule play versus we'll just win them all and make it look easy or whatever with the college football playoff, I wanted to kind of use that to segue into the college football playoff. Tons of narratives, tons of discussion, tons of posturing going on right now about the college football playoff. Do you have any stance you can kind of share on that and where you maybe see it going, and or what is best maybe for the ACC and for SMU?
Well, anytime I think about what is best, what comes to mind for me is I want to do what's best for SMU. My focus is always going to be SMU, and I think that's rightfully so. When I take a look at the college football playoff, I am very interested in a 16-team playoff. If you look at the NFL, I think the NFL is comprised of 32 teams, and what's cool about that, I think about almost 50% of their teams make the playoffs. It might be just a little under 50%, but you have a lot of teams that make the playoffs. Now, we can't do that because we're a much larger organization with the number of teams in the FBS. But the more opportunities for teams to get into a playoff, I think is really good for our sport. I think it also presents a unique opportunity for fans to really take it in. The 12-team playoff, I thought, was a great success. I think 4 teams may even make it better. So as we look to move forward, I like the opportunity to have more teams involved. As it relates to the format, right now, there are a lot of things that go through my mind. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm wedded one way or the other. I want to continue to listen to the dialogue that takes place. But this is what I do know. I want SMU and I want the ACC to be in the best possible position to get its members to the college football playoff. And being a member of the ACC, we want to have a fair shake and a fair advantage to get to that playoff. We got in there last year, and I know our fans enjoyed it, and we want to continue to make those types of runs. So any way that we can set it up that gives us a great opportunity to get there and gives the ACC institutions great opportunities, I'm all for that.
Is there a conversation going on around what's the future of the conference championship game? You know, what was your time in Amelia Island like? You know, as an ACC, AD now, and getting some time with the leadership of the league and kind of how everybody's trying to predict the future while also do right by the student athletes. It seems like.
Well, I really enjoyed my first meetings down in Amelia Island. I've known a lot of the ADs there, my colleagues. I've known them for years. They're really good leaders at their institutions. And Jim Phillips, the commissioner, Jimmy and I go way back, came up in the business somewhat together. I've known him for a long time now, have a lot of respect for him and admiration. He's done a really good job with the ACC. And what I hope to bring is some of the knowledge that I've learned from the Big Ten as well as being in the SEC. As far as you mentioned specifically the ACC championship game, we really didn't get into that too much. We talked a little bit about the CFP and how we move forward with that, and where that's headed. I think that's the main focus right now, trying to get that resolved. Obviously, the SEC and the Big Ten play a significant role in that. But at the end of the day, as I stated previously, my goal, and I'm always going to say to my colleagues as well as to our commissioner, what are the things that we can do to best position the ACC to have an opportunity to get in as many teams into the playoffs as possible?
I want to shift gears now a little bit to the portal window, NIL, rev share, and then we'll get back to SMU. I do want to end on SMU in particular, just to not seem like we're trying to stoke all the narratives and conversations around what maybe some people are tired about. But when you look at the calendar and how it relates to the new, or what we think is going to be the new world of NIL/rev share, what is that looking like as far as the conversations that you guys are having about how to best position SMU, and then B, try to fix what is clearly, I don't even want to say broken anymore, but something that needs to just be massaged in a little bit more forceful way to the right structure, I think. And maybe it is broken. Maybe it is broken. You might think it is.
I think we need to tweak the system. I'm okay with kids having the ability to transfer. It's created some challenges, to say the least. But, we just have to adjust and adapt to that new environment of transfers. However, there's some things that I think can be done that would be a little bit better. First, I don't like having a transfer window in the sport of football in December. I think what you're doing is having that free agency, if you want to call it for lack of a better word, while your season is still going on, is not ideal from where I sit. I'm not so sure that we actually need 2 transfer windows. Again, I don't want to take opportunities away from student athletes to be able to transfer, but I'm not a big believer in that we need 2 transfer windows. I think it might be appropriate to have 1 transfer window, and that transfer window will be sometime in the spring, not in December, not in January. Have that in the spring, and then tweak the football calendar to make sure we can meet the needs that the student athletes have that are incoming, and our current student athletes and our coaches as well, to get them fully acclimated to our programs. Maybe you have some type of OTAs or something that you put into place. But I'm hopeful that we can get to 1 portal window in the sport of football. I hope it's one that's in the spring, and that we adjust the calendar accordingly to meet the needs that all of our programs would have.
I am right there with you on pretty much everything you said, and a couple of reasons why is, one, December, January just doesn't work for every single team. It should be a level playing field whenever the portal window is in play. And some of those seasons are still going on. But also, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for somebody to maybe go through a spring OTA, to meet a new position coach, to meet a new head coach, to maybe get a fresh opportunity at a school that they did pick coming out of high school, or in some cases now the portal. But just kind of give them that chance to ride something out and see if it maybe is a better fit before you end up where some kids are, 4 schools in 5 years, all of those types of shifting, changes in their life. Settle down and see if it's the right fit, and then go wherever you want.
Right.
If not.
Well, I think you make some good points there, Billy. A lot of people may not see this or understand this out there. A lot of young men and women that transfer end up without a home. They start off, they're on full scholarship, and then all of a sudden they think the grass is greener on the other side. I don't know the actual percentages, but I think it's somewhere around 50% of student athletes that transfer end up without a place. And that's tough, because we're about educating young people. So think about those individuals who their only way to get to college was through the scholarship that they earned through athletics, and then they give that up to go into the transfer portal, and then no one picks them up. So trying to figure that piece of it out, and maybe trying to cut down on kids just jumping because something may not be going their way, or that an agent or a runner lures them and says, we can get you this over there. I just want to make sure that we're doing what's in the best interest of the young people. And there are a lot of consequences or ramifications that come along with transferring. And here's another one. Again, don't want to take a student athlete's right away to transfer. I understand that's fair. But the more times a student athlete transfers, the graduation percentage goes down, and we need to keep our eyes on that.
Yeah, another great point there on that. All right, let's end on what your process is these days around and we'll get back to true SMU sports, but the revenue share for SMU and that piece, how big of a emphasis is that in your kind of day-to-day monetary fundraising, preparing for that next step for this program as it gets to that? And you see some of these reports about 25, 30, $35 million rosters. How does SMU continue to be competitive in the space of NIL/rev share, and how are you guys all shepherding that in the right direction?
I meet on rev share, have a meeting on rev share every day. Had mine already this morning, and then they said, when do you want to meet again? I said, tomorrow, the next day, the day after that, because I think we need to be fully prepared. We need to have our process in place and make sure that that's tight, and that we dot all our I's and cross all of our T's. So we're going through that process there. We also need to make sure that we understand what's going on with other institutions across the country to make sure that we don't fall out of alignment, that we still maintain a competitive position within all of this. And then to make sure we understand the rules that come along with this new settlement that still is yet to be approved, but I anticipate it will be. So spending a lot of time on it. And yes, we're going to have to continue to fundraise and drive revenue for this. It's important to do so. And then it's also important to have a situation set up to where we can go out and solicit true NIL deal, fair market NIL deals on behalf of our student athletes. So we'll have the revenue share component that we'll do, but we also want to make sure that we are soliciting NIL opportunities out there for student athletes with businesses that are interested in having our student athletes involved. I want to make sure that they can take advantage of every opportunity afforded them, and we're going to do so. But just as important is making sure that we maintain a competitive position in this ever-changing landscape.
Back to sports on the hilltop. You've gotten now a chance to spend a lot of time around your coaches, the school's programs, and student athletes. What's maybe a couple overarching takeaways about the people that you currently have on this university's campus and the work, and some things maybe that have just stood out to you in general so far?
Well, a lot of things. First, I have to give a lot of credit to outgoing president, Dr. Turner. I mean, to have a 30-year career and what he's done to transform this campus and take it to where it is today has been remarkable. I've enjoyed spending time with him. I'm excited about incoming President-elect Jay Hartzell, who begins on Monday. He and I have had several conversations. I really enjoyed getting to know him throughout the interview process and can't wait to partner with him. But what I've seen here, Billy, is this. When you take a look at people like David Miller and Rich Templeton and Bill Armstrong and many others, their commitment, their pride, their dedication to this institution is immeasurable. And that to me has just permeates throughout the institution, whether it's my other colleagues on campus and the Office of Budget and Finance over in the development area with Brad Cheeves and his team. There's just been so many great people who have stepped up and wanted to help and wanted to partner. And that excites me about SMU. SMU has what I call Mustang momentum. And it's momentum that is not slowing down. It's momentum that's gaining even more traction as we continue this process. And so I'm excited about that. And the reason is simply because of the people that are part of this institution.
And as you go to the summer, what is it like with maybe some of the changes around the athletic department and also working with the coaches to get their new student athletes in settled? How much of do you have to play a little bit more hands-on role with that right now than maybe you will in the future, or just kind of what's that like bringing all these new people to SMU and kind of sharing the welcome to them?
Well, the one thing I should mention, I call two groups the talent. Our coaches and our student athletes are the talent. And we have some unbelievable coaches. Rhett Lashley, man, have I enjoyed getting to know him and becoming, getting a better understanding of what he needs and what he's done here. It's been fantastic. Andy has been unbelievable to work with. Sam, she's a ball of fire. I enjoy being around Sam. Sam's like, let's go get it. Let's go get it. I'm like, okay, I got it. I feel the energy. And then having Adia and Huddy here, whom I've met with. I've met with the majority of our coaches, so I'm excited about that group. My job here is it's some might say complex, but yet simple. My job is to make sure that we provide our coaches and student athletes the resources they need to be to compete at a high level. And our resources have to match expectations. So if you ask me, what am I doing in this transition? It's getting to know the coaches. It's getting to know our student athletes. It's getting to know what their needs are and how that I can help better position them to have success. And then, Damon, get the hell out of the way and let them do their job. And as long as I do that and I stay out of the way and support them and help them build the foundation, I think we'll be fine.
No question about it. Well, we've appreciated you stopping by on the Pony Express podcast. Looking forward to seeing you out around campus this summer and, of course, on the Boulevard this fall as SMU football gets back in action August 30th. So appreciate your time so much, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Billy. And as I always end, go Mustangs, brother. Go Mustangs.
Well, that was fun. Damon Evans talking with us on the Pony Express podcast presented by our friends at Northwest Insurance Agency. Guys, do want to remind you guys as well about our friend Andy Ludicky at myperfectfranchise.net. Myperfectfranchise.net is where you go to get the lowdown on how to change your life, whether you're trying to get out of the corporate rat race and go live the American dream. Andy Ludicky can help you out with that. And it's funny, he and I have become really close texting buddies about Graham and Miles Uter. They're coming up to SMU, and in Miles' case, is just starting off. And so Andy's looking forward to getting out to a Boulevard here very soon and catching a game to see them play. They're down from where he lives in Alabama. And so Andy Ludicky is kind of in this now. He's locked in with the Mustangs. So 404-973-9901 is where you can reach him. Andy Ludicky will guide you through the franchise process and help you out finding a great fit for you and your family, your time, your financial situation, all those things. Andy Ludicky can help you out with it. So, guys, I learned so much from that Damon Evans interview, and we talked for right at 21 minutes, 20 minutes or so, and then talked a little bit more. Again, that side of the interview can be found on theponyexpress.com on this Friday. A lot more about Ford Stadium, NIL, all those things. But he's just a really passionate guy about this university. And it's exciting for SMU fans to see that. I would say, and this is not a dig at last administration or anything, very just mindful of timing and hitting things with the media. I reached out and I just said, hey, any chance? It's kind of last minute. I know it's June. You just got back from Amelia Island. You got back to me and just said, yeah, set it up. And so there it was. We got it hammered out in a couple of days. And I appreciate that. And I think as SMU fans, and it's something he and I talked about after the fact when it came to the expectations of an SMU fan. And there's a lot of people around this university that can do really nice things and contribute and do all those things. And he wants to give the experience back to them, the experience where they go on a family vacation. It's, high level in a lot of cases. He wants to give that type of experience when you're on this campus back to you. And I think doing things like that is pretty nice. And it gives the average fan a little bit more of a glimpse into what's going on in the program. And I'm looking forward to much more conversation with him around actual teams and the excitement of a program and the run that they're on and things like that as, eventually the fall and the winter and then the spring rolls back around for his first full year. But he just is very kind of outward facing, which I think at this time, it's the right fit for SMU. There's a lot of hard work being done. And I know he mentioned, David Miller, Rich Templeton, Bill Armstrong, the whole crew. There's a lot of emphasis being put on everything that SMU can do to best position itself for whatever the next iteration of college athletics is, but also the next, 100 years of SMU. I mean, this is a very formative or reformative or whatever the word might be time for SMU to be on the right side of everything when it comes to being a university. And Damon Evans working with Jay Hartzell and the entire new look administration that's coming in is going to play a big role in that. So really appreciate his time. It was a blast. Again, you can find a lot more on what Damon Evans had to say at ontheponyexpress.com. Subscribe for just $1. We also covered I interviewed Damon on Thursday. On Wednesday night, Jaron Pierre, the Conference USA Player of the Year and the NCAA's top scorer from the regular season, did withdraw from the NBA draft, so he is headed to SMU. 6'4.5", 205 pounds, a huge body out at the guard position for SMU. He's going to be a lot of fun to watch with Boopy Miller. Again, we've been expecting this. We've been reporting this on the site when people ask, hey, what's going on? This is a guy that is going through the process. He transferred to SMU. He's getting a lot of money. Let's call it what it is. Same with Boopy Miller, same with some of these guys. And they are really going to be, the faces of this team in 2025, 26. And they're just now learning their ACC opponents. SMU will not play Georgia Tech, but of course they'll get that game at Duke. They'll welcome North Carolina as well to Moody Coliseum for the first time. And look, it's a good schedule. You do have to go out to Cal and Stanford, but you don't host them. So, on the road, you also face Clemson. So you kind of go to the opposite coast a couple times there for Wake Forest, Duke as well. You go all the way up to Pitt. But overall, you're facing Florida State and Louisville twice, which I appreciate. I'd love to hopefully work down a little panhandle time around that Florida State matchup, but we'll see. Then, of course, you get Miami at home, you get NC State at home. So Will Wade, I get to see my old buddy come to Moody Coliseum. You got UVA, you got Virginia Tech, you got Notre Dame, and you got Boston College. So that's the opponents. We'll learn the times and everything later this, or at least the dates for pretty much everything later this summer, which is always good to start being able to plan your, rest of your year and into 2026. But it's a good time of year to kind of get some of those little breadcrumbs of what is to come. So I hope you guys enjoyed the interview with Damon Evans. It will be dropped, if you're listening, Friday morning, first thing. It's the first thing I'm going to put online. And we'll also have the stories to kind of tag along with it right after that. But then, of course, on Friday, I'm going to fit in one more podcast for you guys for the week. But before I go, I do want to remind you guys about our friends at Rusty Taco as well. Rusty Taco is the place to go for those free corn fritters. Again, you go to the Greenville Avenue location. You mention code Pony Express, and it'll give you the free corn fritters with any order. That's a great opportunity to go ahead and munch on those while you have some tacos. And of course, we want to remind you about our friends at AKM Turf and Greens. $500 off when you mention On the Pony Express or Pony Up or SMU or I know Billy, and Alex Carpenter and his team will hook you up with $500 off your project today. Just had a buddy of mine get the side of his house done, and they did like pavers and kind of leveled it all out. So really good situation now on the side of their house. And sometimes that's a tough little area where it doesn't get much sun. So make sure you reach out to them today. Again, that's akmturfandgreens.com. They'll get you hooked up. It'll look great. And look, they'll talk some SMU with you about getting out to the boulevard and having a beverage or two and celebrating your new backyard. So hope you guys enjoyed this edition of the On the Pony Express podcast. We'll be back again Friday with another edition to kind of double you up for your weekend. But this Damon Evans interview was fun. So a lot of good things happening on the site right now. So hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll catch you next time on another edition of the On the Pony Express podcast presented by Northwest Insurance Agency. Reach out to them today. I'm Billy Embody. Have a great weekend, everyone. Catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to the On the Pony Express podcast with Billy Embody.
Follow us on your socials on X at SMU on 3 and on Instagram at on3SMU.
And keep it locked to ontheponyexpress.com for more coverage.